From Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
Tonight on News Hour, police in Kano parade 253 suspects for various crimes, recover large cache of arms and ammunition, livestock, among others. Nigerians stranded in Ukraine narrate their experience as 807 evacuees arrive Abuja. Kano State Chapter of Nigeria Labour Congress rejects partial implementation of minimum wage. And on the foreign scene, United Nations says over 350 civilians confirmed killed in Ukraine as truce bid to evacuate civilians fails. Hello and welcome to Trust News Hour. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thank you for joining. The details now. Police in Kano has arrested and paraded 253 suspects ranging from suspected armed robbers, bandits, logistics suppliers, kidnappers, tricycle snatchers, among others. Parading the suspects, Command Public Relations Officer SP Abdullahi Kiawa said the clearance operations also arrested bandits supplier identified as Ali Muhammad, aged 44, as well as cattle rustlers. Items recovered from the suspects include large cache of arms and ammunition, cows and goats, weapons, vehicles, tricycles, among others. Now, trends in rural banditry ravaging northern Nigerian states and competition between bandits and the state over control of ungoverned spaces is captured by a documentary produced by Trust TV. The documentary, titled Nigeria's Banditry, The Inside Story, is supported by the Center for Democracy and Development and Media Trust Limited. Take a look.
The event brings together peace and security stakeholders working in the region and other relevant sectors to a roundtable discussion on the emerging trends of banditry, bringing all sides of the narrative behind the devastating conflict. The panel of discussants includes the producer of the documentary and also Deputy General Editor of Daily Trust, Abdulaziz, Dr. Murtala Ahmed Rufai of Department of History, Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, and Professor Ibrahim Jibril, a senior fellow at the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD.
The very last clip that was shown of the Turji, he said something that I think is extremely important. That there are 4 sets of actors. All of them have guns, and all of them using those guns. The Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Police, the bandits, and the NSAK. That these 4 sets of actors are all engaged in committing atrocities.
There are basically these people we call the bandits. Using veterinary doctors is enough for them to stop the act that we call the act of banditry. And there are quite a number of them in Zamfara, including the Kariga, the Turiji gang, and some other smaller gangs. Because they have their own local problems that, just like I said from the beginning, requires local solution.
One dimension which has not been fully told also is the issue of ethnicity, which I think the documentary also tried to bring that problem, as illustrated by the comment by Dr. Awoka and also even by Trigi and others, because it has become a we versus them issue, in which the herders see themselves as herders, largely maybe Fulani, but of course, as Dr. Murtala explained, there are a number of assorted other tribes, but generally they see themselves as, Makiaya, and that is herders.
Peace and security stakeholders present at the event speak on the documentary shortly after the screening.
Banditry in Zamfara and other places are quite different from what we are experiencing in other states. If in Zamfara, the banditry was around injustices meted out to the Fulani community, there is no justification for bandits to come into Kaduna State, to raid a community, to kill, to kidnap for ransom. So you see, in Zamfara, the trigger could be injustice or injustices. But I want you to know that to some extent, we look at this banditry from economic side of it, because it's a business. When you look at the money that is involved.
First, I want to appreciate the documentary itself. I think it gives a lot of insight on this issue of insecurity in the Northwest. But speaking within context, I want to specifically comment on Turji himself, some of the things he said. I realized that he mentioned that they are not, their movement or their struggle is not political, it's not religious, and it's not territorial. Then he went further to mention how they were victimized. His father had a case that lasted for over 7 years or so. His uncle was murdered, and so on and so forth.
The documentary Nigeria's Banditry, The Inside Story is the first in any media organization, as it takes a dive into northern Nigeria, where rural banditry is a center stage, bringing all sides together behind the seemingly unending bandits' war. Martia Umar, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Now, Abdulaziz is the Deputy General Editor, Daily Trust, and the producer of the documentary Nigeria's Banditry, The Inside Story. He joins us on the News Hour to give more perspectives. Thank you for joining us on the News Hour.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it must have taken quite a lot of courage to embark on such a journey. I'm considering the risk factor here, and whether or not it's worth taking all of that risk. What motivated you into the production of this documentary?
Well, first, as journalists, we know that our jobs, just like almost every other job, has risks, and our job is to tell stories, sometimes very difficult stories like this one, because it was indeed, as some people say, something of a suicide mission, because even to me, I realized going, especially 2 missions featured in this documentary, or 3, going to the bandits because this took almost a year, going to the bandit first in February 2021, and in December of that year, and also going to Sabon Birni in Sokoto State in January. All these were really risky factors, but for me the most risky one, I would say, or the scary one, the scariest of them all, was actually traveling to see Turji in December. Not really because of Turji, but because this was a time when there was a lot of military operations ongoing, and actually it was not long after we came back that the military jet killed one bandit leader, Alaji Auta, in the same Zamfara state. So it was a risky venture, but as you asked, I felt as journalists, we have to tell stories. That's our job, and sometimes to get to the roots of some stories, you have to take some risk, which is what I think I did with that.
Now, listening to Turji firsthand, one-on-one, and his account on how he, started all of this, what have we learned about some of the factors, that are fueling this crisis?
Well, I think, especially for people who will have the opportunity to read the full interview, which is coming out tomorrow in the Daily Trust, you will see that there are a number of things that underpin his and also other persons within his gangs involvement in this criminal activity. One is for years, as was shown in the documentary, for years there had been injustice. And as one respondent, one interviewee in the documentary said, if their parents looked the other way, the others coming, like maybe the generation of Turji, felt they could not stomach everything. So there was that issue of exploitation for many years. There is also the issue of neglect of rural communities, which for me is very important. Because
so the question, about exploitation, a lot of Nigerians watching this will say exploitation by who, and whether or not the revenge is targeted at the exploiters.
Right people. Yeah, you see a lot of there is a lot of misinformation about this whole conflict, this whole problem. People think that these people are up against the state or up against, well, largely, this banditry problem largely is a local problem. That is neighbors taking up arms against their own neighbors. That is what we found from the field. And, but of course, when there is arms, when there are arms, when things go out of hand, there will always be collateral damages. And in this form, that's why you have soldiers of fortune, that is people coming just for the benefit of getting money out of it, or even those who are doing that to maybe express their anger or avenge all this exploitation or killings that their own people suffered, now resort to also sometimes taking up these arms to go get money to sustain themselves. It became like a cycle. So, they have these guns that they used for this particular primary purpose, but they can also use it as a way of enriching themselves or keeping there, because some of these, they have huge number of fighters in their gangs, and would they have to keep going. And also they buy guns, which are very expensive. You see the documentary, you see the kind of sophisticated arms these people are carrying. It costs money. So largely, so I'm talking about issues like maybe kidnapping for ransom, like just coming to the highway, as a lot of people will say, rightly so, that, oh, if you say you have problem with X, why will you come to the roadside and open fire and kidnap people and all that? For me, that has a lot to do with maintaining, these gangs. You understand? And, enriching their gangs with guns, and also maybe buying food, which is quite exorbitant. Because
so sustaining the group
yes,
greatly. All right. Now, the bandits pointed to the activities of a vigilante group known as NSAK, as, part of the people that have, caused some kind of exploitation, for them and all of that. And we've seen calls, for the disbandment of these vigilante groups. And now we know that these vigilante groups were in the first place created to help, deal with these issues of insecurity. Yeah. So what then happens if they are disbanded?
So I think, as I said yesterday at the panel during the screening of this documentary, two things stand out in all the narratives. People fighting to revenge at things they felt were done to them by the other person, the other side. Then secondly, also the issue of self-defense. So, like, as you rightly said, most of the NSAK sprout out of the need by communities to protect themselves. And then it becomes like a complete cycle of violence. So maybe the NSAK kill a suspected bandit, and then bandits regroup and go to the particular community and kill anybody at sight and all that. So it becomes, and that's what it is now.
So would you say that maybe the activities of the NSAK is largely unregulated or maybe unofficial, and then they go extrajudicial in their dealings?
Exactly, that is it. Because as the Emir of Bungudu that I interviewed told me that they don't listen to us. That's what he said. And one of Dr. Sadiq Mohammed, who has researched this thing for over, for many years, also said the same thing. He said, okay, the NSAK constitute themselves into the law, and they are the police, the prosecutors, and the judges. So they sentence people summarily.
So who were they meant to answer to? Clearly, they are supposed to answer to someone, isn't it?
Well, that is the problem, and I think clearly that brings about out in the whole conflict the issue of governance failure. That is just the summary of it, governance failure. So this NSAK, they are somehow not more than the bandits, because they are not answerable to anybody. They bear arms to protect their communities in court, and of course, in the process, they kill people guilty or not. Once you suspect, there is no trial. So it's just summary execution. And sometimes, like we see on the roads to Sabonbiri, you see so many checkpoints. In the movie, we captured one. So many checkpoints manned by this NSAK. And in many of these checkpoints, there are allegations that once you resemble a Fulani man, they bring you out and they kill you. So it's a complete cycle of attacks and counterattacks.
All right. Now, with all that you have seen and your interaction with them, are these people open to negotiations and ending this crisis? Finally.
Well, you see, it's one question that I asked, and I pushed a lot to get a very definite answer. And I see, especially for Turji, for example, he is under, as at the time we did the interview, he was under real pressure, even from his own people. Because one thing is, violence is also, except maybe the person try to put a strong face. But no matter what, there is also the impact even on them. That is because now their relatives, any of the person that look like them can't go to some of these communities. So they are also like in a cul-de-sac. And obviously, they are tired of that, at least those that I have met. And they would also want to end this siege that is also on them. So it's just like there's a Hausa saying that any baby who didn't is out to make his mother to have a sleepless night, it means that he also would not sleep.
True.
So that's what is happening.
At the end of the day, dialogue is the answer to all of this, isn't it?
Well, a proper dialogue, because we have had dialogue in the past, which were not really proper, and it collapsed. So as it was identified in the documentary, if you want to do dialogue, you have to do it in a proper way, in such a way that it will be a final solution, not just a haphazard ad hoc arrangement.
All right. Thank you so much, Abdulaziz Abdulaziz, Deputy General Editor, Daily Trust newspaper, for joining us on the News Hour.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it about insecurity. Now, let's move on. Gombe State government has approved over 400 million naira for the procurement of 13 Toyota Hilux vehicles. The government said the vehicles are expected to be deployed to the 11 local government areas of the state to provide logistics for security operations across the state. Ibrahim Ismail reports.
Gombe State is located at the center of the northeast, a region that suffered attacks from insurgents for over a decade. To complement the efforts of security agencies working to ensure adequate protection of lives and property, the State Council has budgeted over 434 million naira for logistics.
The State Executive Council had approved 13 Toyota Hilux van to the 11 local government areas, and specifically meant for security operations. This is as a result of security situations we have in the state, and especially local governments. And you could all agree that the state government is doing its best to see that security is maintained in the state. So therefore, Council today approved those vehicles, and at the cost of 31,080,000 each, totaling the sum of 434,343,000 naira only, and it will be soon be procured and be distributed to the 11 local government areas. Thank you.
Gombe State is considered as one of the most peaceful states in the country, and more need to be done to strengthen security across the state. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
A family of 5 have been reported dead following a fatal accident which occurred on Friday in Jigawa State. The spokesman of the State Police Command, ASP Lawan Adam, in a statement on Saturday confirmed the incident. He said the accident involved a lone driver at Alalapo village in Miga local government area of the state, with at least 5 persons, including a toddler, while at least 2 other persons who sustained injuries were treated and discharged at a hospital. He added that the corpses were released to their relatives for burial, adding that the incident is under investigation. Lagos State government says it is investigating a viral video showing kegs of petrol being handed out as souvenirs at an event center in the state. The state's Commissioner of Information and Strategy, Benga Omotosho, stated this in a statement issued on Saturday. He said the action is dangerous and can lead to loss of lives and property. Similarly, the Lagos State government, through the Safety Commission, said it is investigating the matter and will ensure that all parties to this reprehensible action are made to account for it, noting that the safety of lives and properties of Lagosians and visitors remains a top priority to the Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's administration recently. Recently, a lady identified as Chidima Ogbulu caught the attention of Nigerians on social media with her choice of souvenirs at her installation ceremony as Erelu or King. A video from the event captured a stack of 10-liter kegs containing petrol that had been lined up for guests who came to celebrate with her. Nigerians have continued to face petrol scarcity as long queues are seen in filling stations across the country. Now, meanwhile, we'll take a short break, and then when we come back, the news continues. Please stay with us.
Coronavirus disease, COVID-19, is an infectious disease caused by SARS-CoV-2 virus. Most people who fall sick with COVID-19 will experience mild to moderate symptoms and recover without special treatment. However, some will become seriously ill and require medical attention. The virus can spread from an infected person's mouth or nose in small liquid particles when they cough, sneeze, speak, sing, or breathe. These particles range from larger respiratory droplets to smaller aerosols. You can be infected by breathing in the virus if you're near someone who has COVID-19, or by touching a contaminated surface and then touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. The virus spreads more easily indoors and in crowded settings. Maintain a safe distance from others, at least 2 meters, even if they don't appear to be sick. Wear a mask in public, especially indoors or when physical distancing is not possible. Clean your hands often. Use soap and water or an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Cover your nose and mouth with your bent elbow or a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Stay home if you feel unwell. Get vaccinated. Properly fitted masks can help prevent the spread of the virus from the person wearing the mask to others. Masks alone do not protect against COVID-19 and should be combined with physical distancing and hand hygiene. Protect yourself and others around you by knowing the facts and taking appropriate precautions. Follow advice provided by your local health authority. This message is brought to you by Trust TV.
Thanks for staying. The news continues. Now, Nigerian evacuees from war-torn Ukraine have continued to arrive at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. The returnees who had fled Ukraine in the wake of the conflict between the former Soviet Union and Russia had fled to border countries in Poland, Romania, Hungary and Slovakia for safety. So far, over 700 out of the 2,090 returnees touched down Nigeria in 3 batches. Speaking to Trust TV, some of the evacuees narrate their experience.
These were the reaction of parents who were all smiles, having been reunited with their children who were trapped in Ukraine following its invasion by Russia. While speaking to Trust TV, the parents say that it had been a traumatic experience for them and applauded the Nigerian government for its quick response to the situation.
The day I heard of this thing, it's like this heaven will fall on top of my head. He is my firstborn. The father is late. But I thank God the day I heard of it, since that up till now I cannot eat. But when they say government is going to assist us, I was so happy.
I am very happy to receive my daughter. I can't wait to see her. In fact, I don't even know what to say. I really appreciate Nigerian government for this great job that they did.
The students also narrated what they went through to get to safety.
The experience was actually hectic. It came to us more like an unaware thing. So it wasn't easy at all. We experienced racism, we experienced so many things, so many violent encounters with people. At some point I was underground in Kharkiv in Ukraine. I had to run underground to hide myself. So at that point when I was hearing gunshots, I thought all hope were lost.
But when the train came, it was full and they refused to open the doors for passengers to get in. So I was able to go on the first day. I had to come back the next day. So I was able to take a train to Lviv. Then I got on the wrong train. So I went to a wrong border instead. So I had to go all the way back to Lviv. It was very stressful.
So when we heard it was getting closer, before the night we left, I think we started hearing the bombs started getting to our side. So many of us were hesitant, but the bomb just made us sure of what we were doing. So okay, the next morning we left.
They only allowed, first of all, they started allowing their white women before they allowed their white men, before they now started allowing black women. Sometimes in some trains they had to drag some black men out of the train basically. So it was basically based on racism.
For sure there was a discrimination. I can't say no to that, but from my side I didn't get any discrimination. We didn't get any bad experience, but our fellow Nigerians, they really, discriminate them. I can say that.
The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Sadia Umar Farouk, who received the evacuees on behalf of the government, says it is doing its best to ensure that Nigerians stranded as a result of the war are returned home safely.
I feel very relieved because our government has been very, very proactive. Mr. President has done all the needful, and he directed that all Nigerians living in these countries should be brought back home.
It was a very, very stressful venture, but we take joy because we are saving lives, we are rescuing our compatriots, our future.
What then is the hope for these young students who have been forced to abandon their education abroad and return to Nigeria where its universities are shut due to a lingering disagreement between the government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities?
I think that's the hardest part of it all. That's the hardest part because I've burnt some amount of years, right? So one of the reasons why most people probably move out of the country is because of the strike stuff. What happens now? What do we do next? You wake up one morning and then your whole life is changed, 180.
It is often said that once there is life, there's hope. So we've all come along, we've all come to this reality, and we still believe and we still hope that someday we'll go back to school. We have to even be more concerned about those that are victims.
I don't know what to do next, basically. So right now it's based on what people around us have to offer us and what we can actually try and gather for ourselves.
So we have that fear of our education, everything has changed within a time, so we don't even know what to do and what will happen to our fate and our future. So we were very scared, we are scared, till now we are scared.
Sagir Ibrahim reporting for Trust TV.
Chief Observer, EU Election Observation Mission, Ms. Mary Arena, has described the 2022 Electoral Act as a great achievement for deepening of Nigeria electoral process. Arena said this at a news conference on Friday in Abuja while presenting the mission's final report on Nigeria's 2019 general elections. Arena said that the EU election follow-up mission noted progress with the new law and INEC reforms, but also stressed the need for further actions. She said that the EU election follow-up mission to Nigeria released its report on the status of implementation of the 30 recommendations made by the 2019 EU election observation mission.
Out of the 30 recommendations we made in 19, at this time, we consider 11 to be partially implemented and 2 to be implemented. This includes 3 of the mission's priority 7 recommendations. They relate to result collation procedures, result transparency, and improving access to remedy. These progress are encouraging. The passing of the new Electoral Act is a very positive step forward. The new Act comprehensively introduces a range of measures that improve the election process. It is impressive how the National Assembly, INEC, and civil society worked together on this. It is a big achievement that paves the way for improvement in future electoral processes. Also impressive are the steps that INEC has taken, most notably in uploading polling unit results in real time so everyone can see what has been recorded. This is a major advance, making the election process more transparent. INEC has also made more information public on its website and is meeting regularly with stakeholders. These and other actions are really encouraging. However, there are very real challenges ahead for INEC. It needs to improve its operations with better planning, logistics, and oversight. This is necessary to avoid the shortcomings seen in recent elections, which can put people off taking part in elections. Another serious challenge is the introduction of new technology for the accreditation of voters in polling units. We urge INEC to do a comprehensive lessons learned exercise in the use of BVAS and to have an independent evaluation of their use and to develop a full plan accordingly. We have seen a lack of tangible action in regards to women's political participations. On Tuesday, we saw the National Assembly reject bills for increasing opportunities for women in politics. Thus, no legislative measures have been taken for reserved seats or for parties to have internal regulations promoting women in their structures or as candidates. Without serious actions, the potentials of Nigerians' women is really missed.
Now, ahead of the 2023 general elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission, though yet to officially lift the ban on political activities for the 2023 elections, politicians, particularly with interest to vie for elective positions, have commenced consultations. This report by Trust TV Yusuf Akogu highlights some of the politics ahead of the 2023 presidential election.
One of the first to announce his intention to contest for the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is the national leader of the All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The former governor of Lagos State, who spoke with State House correspondents after visiting President Muhammadu Buhari, said he is out to fulfill his lifelong ambition.
I've informed the President of my intention, but I've not informed the Nigerians yet. I'm still consulting.
Other politicians who follow suit include the governor of Ebonyi State, David Umahi, former governor of Abia State and serving senator, Orji Uzor Kalu, former secretary to the government of the Federation, Anyim Pius Anyim, Omoyele Sowore, amongst others.
I will be
running for presidency on the platform of APC.
But what are the likely verdicts of the people in 2023?
I would prefer they should give youth a chance, because for the past 60 years now, they have been ruling us, they are not leading us. So they should give youth a chance and find someone that is capable, that can lead us to our destination, not people that will just be maltreating and doing bad and so many things to Nigerians. That's what I can say. Like someone like Zulum, governor of Borno State. He's a good man. He's trying, despite the Boko Haram and banditry in his state. You can see his performance and everything. Someone like Emmanuel Odom of Akwa Ibom State. He's a good man. You can see what he's doing for his people. That's the people, that's the youth we need, not our ancestors.
So it also depends on the category of young people. Is it the same, coming from the same circle, men or women? Because if we are advocating for young people to take over the economy or the government, it should be women this time. Yes. If we can't get the change we desire from the men, we are ready to take over.
Nigeria is supposed to look for a new set of people, not those that have been ruling. But the challenge is this: those that have made name have already dominated everywhere. So for a new person, a new person to just come out and say he wants to rule now, and he don't, if at all he join any party, he has to queue before he can reach his own turn to say he wants to be either president or whatever. So that's the challenge we are facing in this country. The structure for new party, for new person to come, that structure is not there. And the existing one has already dominated. So we just look for the one that is manageable. You look for the demons that you can manage out of all the demons.
Younger politicians have repeatedly reacted that while the steady progression of time is about to ease out a generation that has clung to political power since the dawn of independence in 1960, there is now greater evidence that the playbook of political power and participation can no longer remain the same.
The next president of Nigeria must be somebody with a sound understanding and, if possible, experience in economic fundamentals. Nigeria is best served by a leader from 2023 with technocratic knowledge of how to manage Nigeria's economy, because that guarantees the welfare of the citizens. That has an implication for the security situation of the country, because when people don't have jobs, they go into crime. When people are illiterate and don't have education and skills, they fall prey to religious extremism or extremist ideologies. So these are the kinds of things that happen when an economy is bad.
The choice is now before the general public to decide who to entrust Nigeria to after the expiration of the tenure of the current president, Muhammadu Buhari. Yusuf Akogu, Trust Television News, Abuja.
You're watching Trust News Hour. Coming up shortly. Why food vendors prefer charcoal over gas. Details after the break. This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story. Thanks for staying. You're watching the News Hour on Trust Television. Another look at the top stories again. Police in Kano paraded 253 suspects for various crimes, recovered large carts of arms and ammunition, livestock, among others. Plus, Nigerian evacuees from Ukraine narrate their experience as third batch of evacuees arrive at Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja. Now, Nigeria has recorded 31 new COVID-19 infections across 4 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, data showed 6 persons were discharged after they recovered from the infection. Meanwhile, there were no recorded deaths from COVID complications. According to the NCDC, Nigeria now has a total of 254,637 infections, 249,160 recoveries, 3,142 fatalities across the country. Food vendors in Kaduna have no difficulty choosing between using gas or charcoal for cooking. One is expensive and the other is not. But the recent ban on tree felling in the state, making charcoal a scarce commodity, makes the business even attractive. Trust TV's Fatima Ladan speaks to some charcoal sellers in Kaduna. The report.
Trees play a critical role of not only preserving the environment, but also increase the quality of life by bringing natural serenity and attracting biodiversity. Nonetheless, tree felling to make firewood and charcoal is on the increase by the day in Kaduna State. The business of charcoal started booming as prices of domestic cooking gas went up. Many households resorted to using charcoal as cheap means of cooking. With a ban placed on tree felling in Kaduna State, the business is facing a setback. A charcoal vendor in Kaduna explains.
Truly, there is business. The business is initially, it used to be 800 or 1,000, but now it is up to 2,500. You see, the price has doubled in Kaduna. I think it's because the government placed a ban on charcoal business. That is why it is expensive.
Mama Abdul Samad, a food vendor who uses charcoal to cook, says the price hike in the commodity is a threat to her business.
We suffer for firewood, and the charcoal too will suffer for it. Because when they carry it enter, they catch the people and they carry and enter. Before we buy it 3,001, 3,002, but now you don't already decrease more like 2,800. We buy it yesterday. Before we buying it 1,002, 1,005. But now everything is increased. People suffer. May they help us for Nigeria, Gabadaya. Now, nothing. We just the work. Maybe we say we work. Maybe we not work for nothing. Because before, why we buy the charcoal is 1,000 to 1,003. Yes, it's 1,500, but now it's 3,000 plus.
While the charcoal sellers and users urge the government to come to their aid by lifting the ban, the government and stakeholders on their part also call on the populace to imbibe the culture of tree planting in order to restore the biodiversity of the environment.
Now, Initiative for Food Security and Ecosystem Preservation, GIFSEP, and Citizens Climate Lobby Abuja have urged the federal government to ensure effective implementation of the Climate Change Act. The non-governmental organizations, NGOs, made their appeal at a media roundtable to discuss the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change IPCC 2022 report and its implications for Nigeria in Abuja. Executive Director of GIFSEP, David Terungwa, said although President Muhammadu Buhari signed the climate change bill into law in 2021, more needs to be done by the federal government and relevant stakeholders for its implementation.
The fact is that the problem is here with us. In Mozambique, in Zambia, just a few months ago, we know what happened. These countries need resources. We need to adapt. We need to build resilience. And we cannot do this without money. They must fulfill their promises. And it is with this money that we can do energy transition. It is with this money that we can do climate-smart agricultural practices. Our people need social safety nets. We also need technology in response to this issue. We must develop early warning systems for disaster risk management and reduction.
Nigeria Labour Congress Kano State Chapter has rejected the planned pay cut by the state government. The union, in a statement issued by its state chairman, Kabiru Minjibur, on Saturday, described the salary pay cut as government's sabotage plan. The chairman noted that the union met with the government and made 3 recommendations on how to go about the issue, and the government accepted 2 of the recommendations but turned down the one that has to do with the commitment of paying workers the shortfall in their salaries once the federal allocation of the state improves. According to him, although the government said it could not pay 30,000 naira minimum wage to workers due to a shortfall in the allocation accrued to the state, there is need to re-strategize. Let's take a look at some business now. Nigerian Exchange Group's profit after tax rose by 22% at the end of the 2021 financial period. The chairman, NGX Group, Abimbola Ogunbanjo, stated this in its audited results ended December 31, 2021 on Friday. Commenting on the results, he commended the progress reported for FY 2021 across strategic, operational and financial aspects of the group's business. The audited results reveal that its gross earnings rose by 13% to 6.8 billion naira from 6.6 billion naira, while its revenue rose by 14.9% from 5 billion naira in 2020 to 5.8 billion naira in 2021. It also said the group's profit before tax increased by 25.4% to 2.4 billion naira, while its profit after tax rose by 22.2% to 2.3 billion naira from 1.84 billion naira recorded in the corresponding period of 2020. Now, the United Nations Monitoring Mission says at least 351 civilians are confirmed to have been killed in Ukraine. Monitors from the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights reveal that many of the civilian casualties were due to explosive weapons, but with a wide impact area, including shelling from heavy artillery and multi-launch rocket systems and from missile and air strikes. The office believes that the real figures are considerably higher, especially in government-controlled territory and especially in recent days, as the receipt of information from some locations where intensive hostilities have been going on was delayed, and many reports were still pending corroboration. Meanwhile, Russian leader Vladimir Putin says that there is nothing that warrants imposing martial law in Russia at this point. Putin's comment followed days of speculation that the introduction of martial law could be imminent. The Russian president said that martial law is imposed in a country in the event of external aggression, including in specific areas of hostilities, and said that it is not the situation with Russia. Head of the global nuclear watchdog and senior Iranian officials have held crucial talks as Iran and world powers are on the verge of restoring their 2015 nuclear deal. Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Rafael Grossi, met Iranian Foreign Minister Hossein Amirabdollahi and nuclear chief Mohammad Eslami in the capital, Tehran, on Saturday. A major talking point in IAEA safeguards probes, including into several sites where undeclared radioactive materials were found several years ago. But both Grossi and Eslami signaled an understanding has been reached on mutual cooperation. The Iranian nuclear chief said that the IAEA will be provided with documentation on remaining issues by the third Iranian calendar month in late May without disclosing further details. Iran, which maintains it never had and will never seek a nuclear bomb, believes the issue of the possible military dimensions of its nuclear program should be laid to rest as it was resolved during the original JCPOA talks. Kenyan Ministry of Health says it has recorded a yellow fever outbreak with 3 fatalities already recorded in Isiolo counties Upper Eastern region of Kenya. The Ministry of Health, through its Acting Director General, Patrick Amoth, confirmed this on Friday. The confirmed cases were in Merti and Garabatula sub-counties of Isiolo. The Health Director further said ministry has promptly perfected plans to deploy a rapid response team to Isiolo and neighboring counties to establish the magnitude and extent of the outbreak, determine at-risk populations, conduct a risk assessment, initiate risk communication and community engagement activities, and to implement integrated vector control measures. He pointed out that although there was no specific antiviral drug treatment for yellow fever, the first ever recorded outbreak of yellow fever in Kenya occurred from mid-1992 through March 1993 in the South Kerio Valley, Rift Valley province. And in sports news, Newcastle United continued their Premier League resurgence on Saturday, beating Brighton 2-1 to move further away from relegation. The Magpies have not lost a league game since they held Manchester United to a 1-1 draw at Old Trafford last December. Meanwhile, Chelsea put behind their ownership troubles and made it a third Premier League win in a row by beating relegation-threatened Burnley 4-0 on Saturday. The game is coming a week that also had them losing the Carabao Cup final to Liverpool after a dramatic penalty shootout. Still on football, Jurgen Klopp has outlined his plans to quit Liverpool in 2024, but insisted the final decision depends on his energy levels when his contract expires. This is the first time he has spoken so clearly and openly about his future, though the signs have been evident for some time that his latest contract could well be his last. And with that, we've come to the end of the News Hour on Trust Television. Connect with us via our social media platforms and also subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch us live. I am Ayuba Ila. Thank you for watching.